Hello everyone, welcome back to our IELTS Grammar Masterclass course, and today we are going to tackle cleft sentences. So this might be something that you've heard of, maybe this is completely new. Well, we'll be looking at them today in detail, so if you are practicing for your IELTS, in particular your IELTS speaking, then this is a good lesson for you. Okay, so before we start, let's actually clear up what we mean by this word cleft. It actually means divided. So it's quite an unusual word, and it's definitely not something that we would use too commonly in speech. We can talk about a cleft chin, which also means, I guess, a divided chin. But apart from that, we use it with this grammar aspect and a chin, and that's about it. So it's very unusual and it's interesting. It's probably something that you'll remember because it's so unusual. We can think of sentences being sort of divided, if you like. So we'll bear that in mind today. So what are they? Well, it's a complex sentence that has a main clause, or we can also call that an independent clause. In other words, a sentence that is complete. It's its own thought. It doesn't need anything else to make it whole. And a subordinate clause, and they have different words. We can call them relative and dependent. So terminology is really key here because this can be confusing to students, the different words for the different parts of grammar. But subordinate, relative, dependent, all interchangeable. And in this, both of these, so a subordinate clause and a main clause, focus on a specific element. Okay, well, that's all a bit vague still. So let's have a bit more of a deep dive. This structure is used to emphasize a specific part of the sentence. So you want to be drawing additional information or drawing attention to a particular element. As a side note, you can also correct someone using this. And we'll see that in our examples through this lesson. Okay, so let's just clarify, what do we mean by complex sentences? Well, a complex sentence is a sentence with one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. You can have more. So as we've been talking about, an independent clause can work alone as a complete sentence, but a dependent clause, no, it might say it in the name, needs to join with an independent clause to form a complete sentence. So you can't have a dependent clause just hanging in the air or on the line. It needs to be joined with this independent one to make it complete. Okay, so now let's have a look at a conversation and we'll see this in action. So person A, I heard Annie lost her luggage on your holiday. Person B, her luggage? No, I lost my luggage. Okay, so how could we add emphasis to this? How could we change this around? You can have a think. We could change it to, it was my luggage that was lost. And now the emphasis is on the fact that the speaker is talking about my luggage and the losing of it is kind of an afterthought, if you like, but the emphasis changes to my luggage. So this is a situation where you might be correcting someone. So let's think about that. I've just said it. That is what we call a relative pronoun, and it's important for cleft sentences because it connects an independent clause and a relative clause together. So we can use various different ones with cleft sentences. Let's have a look. So, of course, we've just talked about it. We can have that. It was a painting by my cousin that inspired me. Another relative pronoun you can have is which. It was a recipe from a blog which gave me the confidence needed. Who as well, you can say it's Mike and Jenny who are hosting, not me. So now that we've sort of had a few examples here, maybe you recognise cleft sentences. They can come up in speech and in writing as well. So that can give more information about a person, people or things, so nouns, which can give more information about things, and it's a bit more formal than that. So depending on which context you are speaking or writing in, then you can use which. And who can give more information about a person, and it's more formal than that again. So which and who, quite formal, that is a bit more general. Okay, so let's start by looking at the most common type of cleft sentence, it cleft sentences. So how are they formed? If you like a formula, here we go. So we can have it plus be in our various different forms, plus our relative clause, then plus our relative pronoun, then our independent clause. For example, it was the new employee who suggested the innovative idea during the meeting. So you can see we've got our it, our form of the verb to be, and the rest of the relative clause. So it was the new employee. It's sort of hanging in the air. If you were to put a full stop there, would it work? No, not in this case. So we need to add on an independent clause, and we've got our relative pronoun who, talking about the person, quite formal here, who suggested the innovative idea during the meeting. Okay, so a bit more detail. The focus now is on the employee, the new one, who suggested the innovative idea during the meeting. Another example, it is the rainy season when our garden blooms with vibrant flowers. Okay, so you can see how it's quite formal. Some cleft sentences are perhaps not as commonly used in speech, like this one. I'd say it's quite formal, but nevertheless, good to know. And we've got our relative pronoun when there as well. So the focus is on the rainy season. That's the emphasis. So you can really think about, for your IELTS exam, what you want to focus on, highlight, emphasize. And that's when cleft sentences can be really, really useful and a really good way to show the examiner that you are confident using this quite niche area of the language. It can add a bit of creativity to your speech and to your writing. So I think it's a nice aspect of grammar to include. Okay, another example. It was the delicious aroma that led us to the quaint bakery around the corner. So we've got our relative pronoun that this time. What's the focus? You might be able to guess. It's the delicious aroma, the key factor that guided the speaker to the bakery. Okay, so we can also use cleft sentences within a question form, like this one. Was it the girls who screamed last night? Okay, so this is a little bit tricky, but let's break it down. We've got a lot of information here. So the cleft construction is in fact the was it at the beginning. The girls, the subject of the cleft construction. Then that's what's being emphasized. Then we have screamed as the main verb. Who is being used as additional information, our relative pronoun there, and the sentence ends with a question mark, so this is an interrogative sentence here. So another way of saying this in a more casual setting, did the girls scream last night? But if you want to make it a bit more creative, put emphasis on the girls. Was it the girls who screamed last night? That's how you can sort of hear it being said, all about the girls, rather than perhaps the boys. Okay, so hopefully that's clear with questions. We can also use negatives as well. So you could say, it wasn't my car that got stolen, it was my dad's. What's the emphasis here? Any thoughts? It was that we're looking at about the car, and the emphasis here is about the speaker's car. And it actually wasn't the speaker's car that got stolen. So it wasn't is the cleft construction, emphasizing the fact that it wasn't the speaker's car. Got stolen, the main verb. That, our relative pronoun. And then wasn't is a contraction of was not. So you're welcome to use these in your cleft sentences. And this is the negative form of the verb to be. It was my dad's, then after the semicolon provides contrast or clarification there. Okay, so that was how you can use negatives. Now there's a different type of cleft sentence that you might be aware of. You can use what cleft sentences? So, how are these sentences formed? Well, we have our word what instead of it here, followed by the subject, followed by the verb, to be, is or are most of the time, and then emphasized information. So it's a little bit different from our it cleft sentences. So what do we need to remember with what's cleft? A useful bit of information. So unlike the it cleft sentences, new information does not come right after the word. It comes at the end, and the information is emphasized in an it cleft at the beginning because it's followed by the verb to be. So we shuffle it around a little bit. We talk about the emphasis at the end in a what cleft. So for example, what I want is some peace and quiet. So here, what do we think of this one? Where's the emphasis? What is being highlighted here? Well, the speaker is emphasizing some peace and quiet. If you were to say what I want is, and to leave it, well, we're all left on a cliffhanger. What is it that the speaker wants? So there's a desire here, making it a focal point of the sentence, some peace and quiet. What you need to do is to rest for a while. So again, what is the emphasis? This is quite straightforward. This one, it's at the end. And the whole focus is on to rest for a while. So it draws attention to the action or task that the listener should prioritize, making it the key element of the sentence. So what you need to do is cannot stand alone. And it's leading up, you're almost building up to the big reveal at the end of the emphasis. Okay then, another one. What John wants is a good job. So a good job is where the emphasis is on this one. John's desire for a good job, and that's the focus. So we've shifted it on its head, the focus with the what cleft sentences. And you can choose where you want the emphasis to go, and then that can allow you to decide what type of cleft you want to use. And there's another one. We'll end with this one today, an all cleft sentence. How is this different? Well, you might notice that it's quite similar to the what cleft. Instead, we have the beginning word as all, followed by the subject, followed by the verb, to be, emphasized information. So actually, all and what are fairly similar. Okay, but an important point to note about all cleft sentences, they emphasize the object of the verb. They're followed by the verb to be, and we can form questions with all cleft, but negative sentences are not very common. So they sound a bit unnatural with the all cleft, so I would avoid trying to form negatives with the all cleft. Questions are absolutely fine to form. Okay, let's look at some examples then. So we have, all Jimmy wants for Christmas is a brand new bicycle. So you can see the same pattern here. All Jimmy wants for Christmas is, can that stand alone? No. We need to follow it with the emphasized information, which is a brand new bicycle. So Jimmy here, all that he desires for Christmas is this bicycle. It highlights his only wish amongst various possible gifts for this bicycle. So a lot of emphasis here. If you were to take that out of the cleft sentence, you could say, Jimmy wants a brand new bicycle for Christmas. But we really want to focus in on the emphasis here. So hopefully you can see how this works very well for drawing attention to something. Let's do another one. All she does is complain about everything. So where is our attention? It's on the complaining. Draws attention to the fact that her primary or sole activity is complaining. Consistent and predominant behaviour of this object here. Another one, was all she wanted a good job? So we have a question. Like we were saying, we can form questions with the all cleft. And it sounds a little bit unnatural. This is definitely context dependent. I would steer away from trying to use this for a lot of questions. But every now and again for emphasis, this can be used. So maybe you're in a discussion, maybe you're having a conversation, and then you can ask, was all she wanted a good job? And this emphasizes again the singular desire or goal that she had was obtaining a good job. So this specific aspiration rather than other potential desires. So again, context dependent. Really think about whether you want to emphasize something or not, and then that's when your cleft sentences can come in. Okay, let's finish off today with a short quiz to see how confident we are with this area of English grammar. So we have a question. Choose the correct cleft sentence for this sentence. So we need to change this one to become a cleft. My favourite type of music is jazz. Could we do jazz music is what I enjoy really? My favourite is jazz music. What I really enjoy is jazz music. Okay, have a think. What is the cleft here? Can we see any of those words that we might be looking for? Is it cleft, all cleft, what's cleft? That's a bit of a clue there. So we've got a what's cleft. What I really enjoy is jazz music. So the emphasis is on, it's shifted around to the jazz music. Okay, lovely. Well done if you got that correct. Another question. She wants is a quiet weekend at home. Could we put in all, what, or it? So a good practice for this, we can just read out the question with these words and see how it fits. So we could have all she wants is a quiet weekend at home. Okay, that would work. What she wants is a quiet weekend at home. That also would work. It she wants is a quiet weekend at home. Ooh, not so much that one. So see what you think. I think B is quite nice here, but also all works as well, so you can be flexible with these cleft sentences. Okay, so change the sentence into an it cleft sentence. She won the award because of her exceptional leadership skills. Oh, so, okay, thinking about emphasis, that's what clefts are all focusing on. So we want to highlight her exceptional skills and maybe switch it around so we could put that first, perhaps with the it cleft. So maybe it was her exceptional skills that... see how you'd want to end that sentence. Should we have a look? So we could say it was her exceptional leadership skills that won her the award. That would work nicely here. Okay, so those were the 3 main cleft sentences. I hope that has been useful today, and maybe if you started out at the beginning without much knowledge about them, then hopefully you're a bit more confident and comfortable with them. They're really quite an interesting part of the English grammar which you can use to your advantage, especially in the IELTS exam, in the speaking section, say, to show that you are really developing your answers and showing emphasis. So hopefully this helps your practice, and we'll see you next time.